To please the débat, the honourable member for Labrador.
Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for Churchill for bringing this motion to the floor, and I'm pleased to speak in support of motion 444, Mr. Speaker, to look at a national action plan to end violence against women in our society. And I would think that all Canadians, Mr. Speaker, want to see an end to violence, because we know what the impact is upon all women, whether it's violence in the home, whether it's sexual harassment in the workplace and sexual assault. No matter what the case may be, it does pose many barriers for women to be able to progress and move forward and to be able to live a life without fear and stress and restraint. And I think those things are very important. In 2015, it's unimaginable that any woman has to endure sexual assault in the workplace or sexual misconduct. It's unbelievable that any woman has to endure violence within the home and feel there is no avenue for escape and feel that there are no other options available to them. We live in Canada. We live in a society where we look after those that are important to us, those people that we represent. So in 2015, Mr. Speaker, we should not have women marching in the streets asking for initiatives to end violence against women. But unfortunately, that is where we are. And that is the society that we're living in. It is very saddening. It is very saddening that we even have to bring this motion to the floor of the House of Commons for debate, to call upon members of Parliament from across Canada to support a strategy like this. It's a strategy that should already be in place and that we should be looking to end violence against women and not just to develop a strategy at this stage. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, this motion is needed. It is needed so that the level of violence against women and girls in Canada can be eliminated. That what we have seen over the last decades will be no more. And I think that is what all women and children out there want to see. They want to see a civil society where they are free. Free to grow, free to learn, free to examine every opportunity that is open to them. And they are not subjected daily to violence because of their gender or because they are women. So, Mr. Speaker, in a country like Canada, we have the resources to not only develop a national action plan on violence against women, but we have the resources to ensure that the plan works, to ensure that resources are available to all communities, all towns, all cities, all people that need it. But it cannot happen without leadership. I listened to the member opposite on the government side just talk about the initiatives that her government has brought forward to help women in society, changes they've made within the justice system to ensure greater penalties to those that commit the crimes of violence against women and girls. And no one is disputing that, Mr. Speaker. What we're asking for is more, because we know that more can be done and we know that more should be done. Mr. Speaker, there are a lot of communities around Canada where women are violently abused within their homes and have no place to seek refuge. There is no shelter. There is no programs that cater to the violence that they endure. They don't often see a way out. Last night I sat in a session when I was viewing the film Highway of Tears that talked about the many missing women and murdered Aboriginal women in Canada. And one woman that spoke at the launching of that film talked about 21 years of enduring violence from the person she had married, from her spouse. 21 years feeling there was no refuge, that there was nowhere to go. 21 years of enduring violence and feeling you had no way out. Is that what we want for the next decade in this country? I don't think so. I think what we really want is a coherent, coordinated plan that works, that brings resources to the people that need it. We need women to feel safe and secure in their homes, safe and secure to raise their children, safe and secure, Mr. Speaker, to live their lives. There's so many women that don't have that option, and we often fail to recognize that. When we talk about things like an inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women in this country, it's not talk, Mr. Speaker. Over 1,021 women missing or murdered in this country. Some of them on the Highway of Tears, which I've spoke about. Some of them in other regions of Canada. Some of them from my home. It's not acceptable for the government of Canada to say, we won't do an inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women. Because you know what the message we're sending? The message we're sending is that it's not that important. And that is wrong. How do we ever end violence against women if we're not prepared to get to the root of where these problems are coming from? Whether it's in Aboriginal communities, whether it's in non-Aboriginal communities. What message do we send to the perpetrators of violence against women when we say we don't want an inquiry into over 1,000 Canadian Aboriginal, Indigenous, Inuit, Métis, First Nation women who have died or went missing? The message is not a good one that we send. We don't end violence against women by ignoring these issues and ignoring those assaults. We end violence against women by acting up on it. You're not going to end violence against women just because you increase the sentences of those who commit the crime. That's one very small part of it. What about the reoffenders? What about the guy I met in a correctional center who was serving his 6th sentence for violent assault against his wife? His 6th time in the lockup for violently assaulting his wife. It's okay if we add 3 months or 4 months more onto his sentence, but have we really ended violence against that woman? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves when we look at issues like this. This isn't a statistic, it is real, it is happening. And I am only one person who can stand in this House of Commons today and tell you the many stories of violence against women that should be prevented, that should be ended, and the need that we have to do that. There are so many other members of Parliament who can do the same. So while I thank my colleague from Churchill for bringing this motion forward and standing up for this issue, Mr. Speaker, I also want to encourage all members of Parliament to support this, and not only support it, but do everything you can as a parliamentarian to enact this strategy and to ensure it has the resources to work. Really put your efforts into ending violence against women in Canada.